Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Today, I'm here to bring all of you, once again, another weekly manga chapter review of Bleach. This chapter, I think, would probably be a chapter that would be better executed in the anime than in a manga. I'm not saying this chapter is bad, by no means. I'm just saying the contents of this said chapter would be brilliant for an anime, because if you think about it, the scenes that were showcased throughout this chapter, we're getting to see Byakuya, talk about Shikai and how, Kenpachi never really had, his Shikai constantly activated. It would have done a lot better, I think, if it would have had OST, along with a very good ambient background music, and, animated scenes, and zoom-in effects and stuff. I felt like this chapter would have benefited a whole lot more if it was animated. Now, of course, we don't have that, because the Bleach anime at this time is non-existent. So, talking about this chapter in general, it's a very good chapter. Very good content, very good stuff throughout this chapter, and it is a fan service chapter that showcases some of the most popular characters in Bleach, especially fan favorite characters. And the chapter, really, what we get to see Kenpachi do is straight up hype. Very fucking hype. Very, very hype throughout this entire chapter. When you see the Miracle going up against Kenpachi, and Kenpachi is just straight up fucking over the Miracle, he's toppling him down, he's, cutting his arm off, he's fighting him, it's very badass. A very, very badass chapter. Now, I do want to take note of a couple of things that some might have missed. For one, Kenpachi, he removed his eye patch, and he is going full power right at the start, pretty much, against the Miracle. And, on top of this, he releases his Shikai, for he can fight the Miracle. Now, I do want everybody to notice that in this chapter, towards the end, with the sword that Kenpachi attacked, it looked like to me that when Kenpachi did damage to the sword that the Miracle has, it did damage back to Kenpachi. So I don't know necessarily if that's exactly what that scene was trying to imply. It could mean something entirely different. But the way it was executed, it made me assume that the Miracle has a different ability besides constantly growing stronger and taller, and that would mean that if you hurt his sword and chip its blade or anything, the damage reflects back onto the person that's dealing the damage. So, it's a rebound effect. And if that really is what's going on here, it's going to prove to be very interesting, because we know how Kenpachi is. He likes going in, he likes fighting, going all in with, his brute strength to topple his opponents, and I mean, he's definitely going to get a lot of massive damage if he does go all out, especially with his Shikai, against the Miracle, if his sword can rebound the damage. But even then, it doesn't exactly mean that. There is a possibility, even if it's not the sword, that means if he attacks him, that would mean that if he attacks his body, the damage gets rebound back onto Kenpachi. So if that does happen too, that's scary. That's a very scary ability. So, very cool stuff. I wonder exactly where Kubo is going to take that, if he's implying that this is a new ability, or if the sword has a certain, gimmick to it. We have no idea at this time. Now, besides that, when it came to content-wise of the chapter, there were some good things here and there, but it was a very short chapter. It felt very short, but it was a very short and sweet chapter. It was that type of chapter, this is a very fucking good chapter, but it didn't have a whole lot going on. It was more of a setup chapter that was preparing us for the upcoming fight, and I am very excited, because, at first I wasn't really interested in this fight against the Miracle at all. I really wasn't. I'm going to be honest here, I'm not the biggest fan of this fight, but seeing Kenpachi come in, which is one of my personal favorite characters of the series, besides, Mayuri, seeing him come in and starting to fight, it's really exciting. I really love seeing him come in, starting to fight, and, how he's back up, and, he's walking around, he's healed and shit, and I love the faces at the beginning of the chapter, and everybody's freaking out, how the fuck you upstanding? That was a very, very funny moment with this chapter, because I was thinking the same thing, oh my god, Kenpachi, he took a huge beating, he got fucked up by, Crazy Hand, and then now he's, back up, standing, about to fight, and I'm like, shit, you can see how much of a badass Kenpachi is when he goes in, and I'm glad I get to see him once again. He's not, down for the count and, completely cut out from the rest of the, the arc. I'm glad he's going to be able to fight again, and he's doing it right now. So, overall, how is Kenpachi going to beat this guy? That's left to be said, because from what we found out in this chapter, which was implied, and I've seen a couple of Chibits mention this actually in the comments below, and it's kind of like Kubo clarified this to explain the situation. If the Miracle continues to grow. Like, he grows bigger and bigger, and he's stronger and stronger. That it actually proves to be a huge problem, because if he falls from up there on the upper part of Soul Society down to the bottom part of Soul Society, this is very bad, because for one reason, if he hits the ground, it's like, you know, how gravity works. If a meteor is coming from outer space with, you know, the velocity coming in through the atmosphere, and it hits the ground with a, you know, a huge impact, it's going to cause some form of explosion, and it's going to cause, like, you know, a huge wipeout radius where it might demolish all life on a planet or so. And because of the Miracle being so big, if he lands down, there's a possibility A, he can crush Soul Society, or B, from the impact and the velocity of how hard he's falling because of gravity, it could cause it to where he could wipe out the entirety of Soul Society and doesn't exist. Kind of like an atomic bomb or something if he hits the ground that fucking hard. So yeah, very scary stuff, because now it lets us know that he won't be defeated that easy if he was just, you know, shoved off there and, you know, slung to the bottom part of Soul Society. The exact same measure that they used against, you know, our freaking Chicken Lily, it can't be used against the Miracle, because he has to be defeated up there, because if he falls, it's GG for the entirety of Soul Society. So, what's going to happen next? I'm very curious. I'm excited to see what Kubo does. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.